Hello, I'm Jonathan Sutherland, and this is the Scottish Football Podcast. All the news, views, and analysis you need on Monday, the 26th of January. That was just a nice, quiet, average afternoon at Tynecastle.
Here we go, yeah, he's going to upgrade it. He's gone to his pocket. Stephen McLean, Celtic down to 10 men. Austin Trusty sent off.
Celtic and Hearts share the points after a 4-goal end-to-end thriller. Rangers now only 4 points behind the leaders after a comfortable victory over Dundee.
Oh, what a goal! That'll do it for Rangers. Gassama with a beautiful curling effort. Will they pound on the afterburners?
It was unthinkable in August, but are Danny Roll's informed side actually now title favourites? We shall discuss. And just the 8 goals and 2 red cards as Aberdeen thumped Livingston on a goal-filled Saturday.
We've got a bit of a bust-up here at Pittodrie. It was Milne and Bokila. Oh, it's a red and a red.
We will fill you in on all the weekend action.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sport Scotland.
We are recording this just after filming Sunday night sports scene, so I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Andy Halliday and Scott Allan. I was going to say welcome to you both, but you've been sat here for the last hour or so with me. So anyway, thanks very much for staying on a bit longer. Right, all the dust is settled on what happened today, and it was a tumultuous Sunday, obviously. I think I'm just going to read the top of the table here because everybody's played 23 games, right? Hearts are on top on 51 points. Rangers are second on 47 points, just 4 points behind. Celtic now third on 45 points, 6 points behind Hearts. Motherwell, Andy, of course, are on 40 points, 5 points behind Celtic. Thought I'd better just mention that.
Thanks for that.
No problem. In terms of title favourites, Andy, right now, after we've seen all this weekend action, who are you going for?
I've been on Hearts for so long that I almost feel a bit guilty if I come off them at any stage. But listen, my confidence levels towards Hearts have dropped when Cammy Devlin was ruled out for 8 weeks, and then dropped significantly further when Lon Shanklin was then ruled out for 8 weeks. So, but that being said, it's Lon Shanklin, it's Cammy Devlin, it's Benny Beningame that are all missing in that massive game against Celtic today. And yes, they didn't win the game, but for me, they got a valuable point, and I still thought they were the better side across the 90 minutes. So I'm going to stick with Hearts at this moment in time.
Wow, OK. And you also mentioned to me that Derek McInnes said he's going to make a couple more additions to the squad. Yeah,
which again could, I think it could change anyone's opinion what the next sort of, 4 or 5 days holds that remains in this transfer window, because I always felt coming into this window, whoever has the best January transfer window will win the league. I thought it was apparent that Celtic needed a number 9. I thought it was apparent that Rangers still needed a few more additions. For me, no doubt whatsoever, a number 9. And I think Hearts, their big emphasis on recruitment this window, is replacing the guys that are injured for a period of time. So I still think there's so much for the 3 clubs to do over the next 4 or 5 days. But at this moment in time, I'll stick with Hearts.
Scott Allan, where are you sitting in terms of what feels like the perennial question right now? Well, it's basically the only question: who's going to win this Premiership title?
Well, I think for me, I actually expected that the game at Tynecastle was going to be a draw today. That was my prediction during the week when I spoke to many people, and it did turn out that way. Rangers, I expected to beat Dundee. I think the momentum they're building. I think the players coming in who I think will make a difference to the starting 11, and I think there'll be more on the way. The clean sheets that Rangers are getting is a big plus in their favour for me, because I think foundations are looking a lot better, especially from what we've seen earlier on in the season, how vulnerable we were under Russell Martin. So I think that's a good starting point this January for Rangers. What's the quality like coming in on top of that? I still think they need a better striker to really go and win the league. So for me, I'm probably still on the proposition. I've seen Hearts and it's favourites for me. I think to go into a game like that without Shankland, as Andrew said, without Shankland as your main focal point, your team who brings guys into the game. Kibori coming on, yes, he was a handful, but doesn't have the same qualities as Lawrence Shankland for me, the same effect within the team. Cammy Devlin, a huge miss. He's been outstanding for them this year, but I just trust that the guys will get in under this Jamestown and I think there'll be guys who can come in and make a real difference to them. So for me, Hearts still just nudging ahead as favourites for me.
Are Rangers just a convincing striker away for you, Scott, to become title favourites? 8 wins in a row now. for Danny Roll's side.
Yeah, but I think that would need to be a striker who could really come in and hit the ground running. And I think at Rangers and Celtic for that matter, I think it is difficult to get someone who can come in and really hit the ground running. I think the only one we've kind of seen really do that to their levels recently has been Kyogo. Dessers still had his judgment off fans where he'd score maybe 2 in one game and then miss a sitter here or there, but Kyogo the one for me consistently who really performed, and that was from a Celtic perspective. So for Rangers they have to really get it right in terms of that striker position. So listen, Hearts still favourites, Rangers if they get a striker, and I'm saying striker can come in and really make a difference from the offset, and I think that is difficult. I think that relates to Rangers and Celtic, getting guys who can come in, especially in the January window, and the environment that you're working in, the pressures that come for playing for both clubs. I think it is difficult to recruit specifically for that. You're hoping they can come in and have a real impact, but difficult time to do it in January. So for me, Hearts.
The thing for me is I actually think Rangers are a Cyril Dessers away from winning the league.
I was going to say, should Rangers be thinking about trying to get him back? I'm not sure. Is he injured at the moment?
I don't know his situation at Panathinaikos, but listen, I'm not disagreeing with Scott in terms of he was an enigma. I thought he split opinions for fans for his performance levels in general, but I think at this moment in time all Rangers really need is a guy who's going to put the ball in the back of the net. And whatever you could say about Cyril Dessers, well, last season he finished his top goal scorer in what was deemed a season that was classifying as an enigma, and he split opinions across fan bases, but finished his top goal scorer previous season in that, 25 goals. Now if you look at the output that Rangers are getting for their strikers at this moment in time, across the three of them there's 11 goals across 81 games I think it is now.
If you look at it for that point of view, like on paper that wouldn't be enough. If you're talking about strikers having a real impact in the team going to win the league, that wouldn't be enough usually, but they are getting goals from obviously other positions on the park.
True enough, absolutely. The dust is settling on this weekend, and we'll get into it a little bit more, but actually looking ahead to next weekend, Andy, we've just been discussing it between the end of Sports Scene and the start of the Scottish Football Podcast, looking ahead to the fixtures next weekend, and Hearts have what looks like a pretty tricky assignment, albeit Dundee United are obviously in the bottom half of the table. 8 o'clock kick-off Saturday night at Tynecastle. Hearts were obviously up for today's match hugely, and I'm no doubt they'll be up for next week's match, but it's a different proposition as well, and it's following it up with still no Cammy Devlin and no Lawrence Shankland. How do you see the next few weeks for Hearts?
I think there's going to be a challenge for them, which is why I do think that Hearts need to bring in at least another 1 or 2 to replace the players that are missing over the next 2 months, and within that 2 months Hearts do have a really tricky period worth of fixtures. Now these are the games that Hearts have been winning all season long, but I just think minus the 3 key players in the spine of their team, I think it's going to be a really, really tough ask for Hearts to get the same amount of points they got for the first third of the season, to the middle part of the season, to the final third of the season, given the players that they've got injured. So, I mean, it's been such a remarkable season already. I think it's only going to get more excitement, just given the kind of subplots you've got throughout the 3 clubs. And even in terms of the three fixtures we've got next weekend, Dundee United at Hearts, Rangers are on an 8-game winning streak, but just because it's not really scintillating in terms of the performance levels you're watching, I still would find it very, very difficult to say that they'll go to a Hibs team who aren't doing particularly well at this moment in time and guarantee that they'll make it 9. Celtic are obviously at home to Aberdeen, who, let's face it, they'll be heavy favourites, but Aberdeen have just put in their best performance of the season, scoring 6 against Livingston over the weekend. So it's been an incredible season. I feel as if there's going to be so many more twists and turns to come, but there's no doubt whatsoever for all 3 teams. They've got 3 massive fixtures next weekend.
Who needs the traitors, Scott? We've got Scottish football, and that will do the job nicely. Let's talk about the game at Tynecastle a bit more. Obviously, the big talking point, or one of them, was certainly the sending off of Austin Trusty. It was actually Celtic's first domestic red card since the 3rd of March 2024, believe it or not, which was also at Tynecastle. Yang, I think it was indeed, during the Brendan Rodgers era. Speaking to Sky Sports afterwards, Martin O'Neill saying it's no more a red card than a blue card. No idea where he's going with that. But anyway, let's just get that out of the way. We spoke about it on Sports Scene, but you were both actually of the opinion that it was ultimately the right decision. Yeah, my initial reaction was it was a red. I was actually quite surprised that he did brandish the yellow to begin with. I think then the confusion comes with when he's asked to go to VAR, will he then over? Because that then, to me,
makes me think that John Beaton thinks it's a red, but the on-field referee thinks it's a yellow, which then has its problems within that. But for me, if you're just looking at it from a player's perspective, good ball, great ball through from Kurjota. Trusty, for me, who, when he has to defend in moments within games, just doesn't do well enough for me. And I know he played well on Bologna, but the mindset's completely different from having to defend in moments. You're out in Bologna, you're a man down. All you're getting asked to do is defend, put your body in line. When you're then asked to do things on the ball, it puts that little bit of confusion in you. And not for the first time this season, we've seen that indecision from him. Kabori gets in the wrong side of him. And yes, it is a coming together. I don't think there's an intention there to pull him down. He gets caught up. But for me, Kabori's going through. He's getting that touch out his feet, and the goal's there for him to shoot. Whether it scores or not, it's obviously another matter. But for me, I thought it was a red card.
He is going away from goal slightly though, Andy, and you can understand Martin O'Neill pursuing that line of thought, because that often is a line of thought when it comes to these decisions.
Yeah, well, listen, they're all very subjective when it comes to denying a goal scoring opportunity. I don't think there's any doubt that Kabori's going to get on it and he's going to have a shot and goal. If he does have a shot and goal from that area of the pitch, I think his chances of scoring are relatively low. But I don't think there's any doubt whatsoever for me that he's going to get onto the ball and have a clear goal scoring opportunity. I think the distance between Kabori, who's fouled, to Dame Murray, who's 14 yards to the left, and Liam Scales, who's 13 yards behind, means for me there's certainly no argument for a recovering defender. I do think the real sort of grey area in terms of where your opinion lies is the direction that the ball's travelling. But for me, I think the biggest thing for me is I think he's going to go on it. He can have a direct shot at goal. The one thing I'm slightly perplexed with is, was it a clear novice error to a yellow card? Now I'm saying I think it's a red card, but I'm just very interested to what Stephen McLean has relayed to VAR that means that what he's seen live at that point in time was wrong, and the reason he was then brought to the monitor.
You know, it's a good point, yeah, in terms of the significance of the decision, and VAR sometimes decides that the on-field referee, if it's, you know, in splitting hairs almost, try not to get involved. I take your point, absolutely. Scott, how concerned should Celtic fans be right now? They are 6 points behind Hearts. The games are kind of running out, and as we talked about in Sports Scene tonight, the control that we so often associate with Celtic in matches domestically just doesn't seem to be quite there. Austin Trusty as well, who we've mentioned, got sent off. Very uncertain in the first half as well, allowing in Kizaridis, who really should have scored as well. How do you assess where Celtic are right now?
Well, I think obviously come away from Tynecastle with a point, having not played overly great. I think we obviously touched on it on the show about that composure in the middle of the pitch. It's so crucial, especially going to that sort of atmosphere and that sort of environment, and for what was riding on the game. I think you only have to look back to a week ago when they played Falkirk. I thought Celtic were lucky to come away with points of that game. I thought Falkirk for large spells were the better side in that game. Defensively, Celtic managed to get through it, but over a consistent period, I don't think their performances give you enough to claw that back at this moment in time. I think that would be the worry, because yes, Martin O'Neill's come in and he has to undo all that Wilfred Nancy done, pick the team up again from the confidence levels they were losing goals. So that side of it does look slightly better. Individual errors still there, I would say that, but the consistency of performance, for me, if it doesn't improve, I think Celtic will drop points.
Thomas Chavanchara made his debut, Andy. From what you saw, does he look like what Celtic need, or do they need additional in terms of players at the sharp end of the pitch?
I think it's a very, very difficult game to judge Chavanchara, because, you know, 9 times out of 10 when you watch Celtic domestically at home, they're going to have all the ball, they're going to have teams camped in at their box, and they're going to supply their number 9 with a handful of chances. I don't think that was the case today. I thought he had to feed off scraps for the majority of the time it was on the pitch. But you've got to say that the couple of instances that he was given secure possession to keep a hold of it for Celtic, I thought he did ever so well. I thought his build up to the second goal was excellent. I think Hearts were obviously in their man-for-man press. I think Craig Halkett is extremely tight with him. He does well to hook the ball round the corner with the outside of his right foot, then follow his run, and then I think from there you can see what he's going to bring Celtic. I think he's got the pace to get away for Craig Halkett, who I've played with, and he's no slouch in terms of chasing back. And then I think he does ever so well to drive into the box and then pick out Yang at the back post. And then the only real time in the game that a ball came into the box that he was able to go and attack. He was quite unlucky to not hit the back of the net on that occasion as well, where he loops a header off the bar. So I think it was a really, really difficult game to judge his overall contribution. But you can see he's all action, he's industrious. I think he's going to be box office to watch as well for the neutrals, because he seems as if he's got that little bit of streak
personality.
In him. Well, you can call it personality or you can call it red mist, one of the two. But I certainly think he's going to be one to watch, that's for sure.
Devilment's a good word. Okay, so just to clarify things, both you still tipping Hearts for the title?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, good. And Motherwell? Your Motherwell side, Andy. The North Lanarkshire Barcelona right now, 5 points behind Celtic. Absolutely fantastic performance at the weekend against Kilmarnock. Yes, Kilmarnock aggrieved it, obviously the sending off, and they had a goal disallowed obviously for offside. But I think we're going to take the shackles off the Motherwell title challenge. That's gone now, isn't it? I mean, even if you probably wouldn't accept that there was a title challenge yourself anyway. 5 points behind Celtic. You have been so fantastic though. It's incredible. You don't really know how this Premiership season's going to go. But very much kingmakers, certainly, could be in terms of the top half of the table, Andy.
Yeah, well, we've been in the top half of the table for a long period of time now. I think if you look at the sample size of the last 15 games, it's title winning numbers. You know, you 1 defeat in 15. I think it's 7 clean sheets at home.
Oh, so the title race is still
No, I'm certainly not saying that. But listen, it's not too dissimilar to the numbers that Rangers are putting up. That people are now saying that have put them in a position to go and win the league. So what it is, it's a remarkable run of form. And I think the players, the manager, the club in general, I think deserve so much credit for it. And for me, I think it's unprecedented what the team's doing at this moment in time, given that, you know, give or take probably the 9th, 10th biggest budget in the league. So certainly not a team that's flinging big money around or big money in transfers to bring players in. I think at this moment in time, the groundsman won't thank me for saying it, but the pitch isn't in great condition at the moment. But it's not took away for 3 fantastic home performances in a row. And I think what's been missing throughout the course of the season has been probably goals in terms of the amount of control that we've had in games and the amount of chances we've created in games. So I think it was fantastic over the weekend to see us finally put a team to the sword and put 4 into the back of the net against Kilmarnock.
Yeah, quite incredible. And Scott, in terms of Hibs, they're 5 points further behind Motherwell. And, well, this felt like, I was going to say the weekend when Hibs' title challenge died. Don't think anybody was really taking that seriously. We did mention it a few times a few weeks ago.
I'm sure you asked me that a few weeks ago.
I'm sure I did,
in that position.
I was just trying to make it even more exciting, but it was probably a bit of a stretch. But yeah, it was a fantastic victory for Falkirk, obviously in the top half of the table. And your performance of the weekend, as far as you were concerned, as you said on Sports Scene from John McGlynn's side?
Yeah, it really was. Just listen, I love everything about this Falkirk side. The fact they've came up from League One and he's now starting to add to that. Barney Stewart, who we spoke about, I think obviously coming from a uni side, and to see him obviously have that impact coming back from that loan spell at Dunfermline. But just thought on and off the ball, I thought they were better in all departments in Hibs. Hibs for me, they carry that physical threat. Falkirk just didn't let them see the ball. I think there was like 10 Scottish players in the starting line-up as well, which is testament to John McGlynn. And actually shows you in this country we do have Scottish footballers who can play some really good football and take on information and go and carry it out for a manager. They've done that. What I would say about Falkirk is it's not just Hibs. Falkirk could do that too. If you're not on it and Falkirk are on it, they can do that too, because they move the ball well and they have players who can be a real threat. So John McGlynn deserves all the praise that is coming his way at this moment. And listen, they're filling out the stadium every home game as well. And that's some of the stuff that the fans are getting to watch. They'll be in dreamland, but all of that comes down to John McGlynn, the trust he has in their players, and the trust he's kept showing in their players, bring them through the league. Because what I would say is, when you do gain promotion to the Premiership, the easiest thing to do is to then, we need to get players in, He's just handpicked ones who've come into the squad. Lisa being an absolute standout for me. Obviously securing him alone, he's been outstanding. I think he'll go on to have a really good career down south. But I can't speak highly enough of what John McGlynn says doing at this moment in time.
I think with Falkirk and Motherwell, specifically with the two clubs that the budget they've got, I think to be doing what they're doing this season, I think you have to be the best at something. So I think Falkirk coming up for the Championship, I think they have to rectify some part of their game that they can be the best in the league at, that probably takes away from budgets. And I think they're the hardest working team in the league, Falkirk. Every time I watch them, I think they've got real athleticism, and I think they don't give opponents a minute's peace. I look at that top end of the pitch, and quite often this season it's involved a 38-year-old in Brian Graham. I think they harry opponents. I think they force them into playing into to areas that they don't want to play. And I actually think off the ball they're absolutely fantastic. Now the goals against column doesn't say necessarily that off the ball they're the best team in the league. But I think they're so well structured. I think they get after teams no matter who it is. Scott touched on the game against Celtic last week, how difficult they made that game for Celtic off the ball. And then that's, if you fling in as well on the ball, they're pretty decent as well. So what a job John McGlynn's doing. And I said that a couple of weeks ago when we were sitting on this podcast, and I'm saying it again. It's almost impossible to determine who's going to win the league. It's even more impossible to say who the manager of the year is, because there's so many contenders this year.
What I would say on that though is, right, see when Motherwell went to play John McGlynn's Falkirk, John McGlynn changed how he set up to play against Falkirk. So that shows
respect.
It shows respect.
I said you need to be the best at something. That's because Motherwell are the best on the ball. So you have to change.
It has been quite incredible from John McGlynn. He's found Barney Stewart in university football. He found Kieran Bowie in relative obscurity as well, and got him in at Wraith Rovers.
Same with the boy Dylan Tate as well, who is playing midfield, playing really well for him at the moment. He was from Fife elite team at 16, and 8 months later was in John McGlynn's
Adams as well,
starting 11 at Wraith Rovers. He's finding these. It's incredible.
Who needs Jamestown Analytics? You just need John McGlynn's eyes and brain.
Runtown Analytics.
That's the one. In terms of goal gluts, we have to talk about Aberdeen's 6-2 victory over Livingston. I have to mention as well, Livingston are going to report Aberdeen over alleged racial abuse of Jeremy Bakila in that match. We will see how that develops. In terms of the actual football, I think exciting for Aberdeen fans, Andy, obviously. You don't often see the rampant Reds, but was it a case of the rampant Reds lighting the blue touch paper, if that makes sense, or was it just a case of Livingston being not very good?
I think there's an element of both. I think Livingston, I think you could see for the highlights over the weekend, they're still giving up way too many chances. I think Davy Martindale's Livingston over the years in top flight football have always been associated as hard to beat, hard to play against. They make it really difficult for you. I don't think this season they've been that. I think there's been a real fragility about them in terms of defensively. And listen, the league table tells you that. Only 1 this season, and it goes all the way back into August at home to Falkirk. But Aberdeen, I think everyone's been waiting for Aberdeen to go on a run, just because the amount of money that they spent tells you so, that the players that they brought in, eventually they should get it right. But it's not came so far this season. And listen, with all due respect, it was low league opposition last week against Wraith Rovers, but they win 1-0, they got a much needed clean sheet. The big question was, can they continue that into the league this weekend? And you must say, certainly in possession and going forward, they looked as if they had a lot more purpose about them, a lot more tempo, a lot more intensity. A big question mark for me is where Mitchell Frayn's been this season, because it was obviously a relatively high profile signing coming from Celtic in the summer, who was well thought of at Celtic's academy at that point in time as well. And it's took till January for him to get his debut. You've got to say he certainly took his chance, because I thought he was an outlet for Aberdeen all afternoon down that left-hand side. And then another massive plus for me when it comes to Aberdeen is that number 9 position has been a real problematic area all season long. And they felt as if they had a real key player in Kevin Nisbet. And through form and injuries all season long, he's not really been able to be that, but really important for him to get his goal at the weekend, look somewhat back to his best. Yeah,
Mitchell Frayn getting an assist, obviously, for Aberdeen. And Kevin Nisbet, on another day, might have had a hat-trick, just a marginal offside, got 2 goals. As Andy says, Scott, it sometimes takes him a while, it feels, to get up and running in a season, but the instincts looked like they were back against Livingston, and Aberdeen fans will be hoping that this is the start of a fantastic end to the season for him.
Yeah, I think for me it was a perfect fixture for them. If you're looking at Kevin Nisbet, played with him, so I know the qualities that he does bring. For me, when you get that sort of delivery, if your job then, when you've got a Mitchell Frayn putting it, you have to be in that between penalty spot and the goal, and he was there and he slots it home. That's what Kevin Nisbet's really good at. His hold-up play, usually really good, but I think you touch on what Andy says there. Form and injuries, it does hamper them, and that's why you don't see that consistent form from them. But there's no getting away from it. They've got quality. Aberdeen, when I'm looking at their squad as a whole, and yes, they scored 6 goals, I just don't feel they're better than the teams that are currently in the top 6, and I feel that other teams can take points from them. So that's going to be the challenge for them. Can they make Pittodrie? Can they be harder to beat at Pittodrie? Can they create more chances and take their chances that we've seen yesterday? Can we see it consistently? I don't quite know. I don't quite think the squad's at that level as other teams we've been speaking about. I think Falkirk as a squad and how they play style-wise, I think they're better than Aberdeen. Same with Hibs, and absolutely the same with Motherwell. I know they play in the Cup quite soon as well, so that'll be an interesting one. But for me, it's just about can they put a run together and start winning games of football, because there has been a lot of frustration up there, especially off the back of winning the Scottish Cup last year. The money they have invested, the fans were expecting a big season this year, but I just don't feel they're in as strong a position as clubs above them at this moment in time.
Can they get a manager? Seems to be taken for it.
Or is the manager right in front of them?
Peter Leaving. Could be. Who knows? Just final question. Is Scottish football better than the Traitors?
I don't know. Both are pretty good. I'll give you that. But
yes.
I'll say yes. There's even more unpredictability when it comes to Scottish football, so we'll get the nod.
And you've not really watched it?
I've not seen it, no. So
it's a huge error, that.
It is.
It's fantastic television.
So many twists. Anyway, we'll speak to you soon, Scott, and see if you've got into the Traitors. But you've got Scottish football to keep you going for the time being. Thank you very much indeed. That is all we've got time for. Remember, we are here with new episodes of the Scottish Football Podcast bright and early every day, so make sure you don't miss out. Subscribe on BBC Sounds and have push notifications turned on in your phone. Scottish football, the gift that keeps on giving. Thanks for listening.
For everything you need to know about your team this season, download the BBC Sport app. All the latest news, goal updates, stats and scores, and insight and analysis. Just select your club to get the biggest stories and best content at your fingertips. What a result. Download the BBC Sport app for everything you need to know about your team this season.